Hey guys, and welcome back to another video by Beauty by Bridget. I'm Bridget and this is my channel. You can find me here on YouTube as well as on Instagram at _beauty_by_Bridget_, on Twitter at BridgetBBeauty, and on TikTok at beauty_by_Bridget. Today we are doing our second installment of the Basics with Bridget series. It has yet to be a series, but because this is the second one, it is now a series. A long time ago in probably November.
Even earlier, probably. But around there.
A long time ago, I showed you guys how I do my base. And today I thought I would show you guys how to do a basic, neutral, kind of smoky with a little bit of shimmer eye look. It's the look that I do for basically any event. So unless someone requests a specific look, this is my go-to for bridesmaids or prom or a photo shoot. Anything that someone comes to me and is like, I just want a simple glam look that's neutral, this is what I do. So I'm going to show you guys how I do it. I'm going to go off camera and do my base, but if you would like to see how I do it, I already did a video on it, and we will put the link to that video in the description. Let's get started. So for my go-to eyeshadow look when I'm just going for something basic glam, I use my Makeup Revolution Friends palette. I actually got this for Christmas from my roommate Jackie's boyfriend Tyler, and he gave it to me and I absolutely adore it. It is very handy in that it travels well because it's so thick and structured, but also the colors are just a neutral dream. So depending on what someone's skin tone is and how deep I want to go in the crease area, I can change shades depending, and then there's also some really pretty shimmers that look good on light, medium, and dark skin tones. So if you're looking for a palette that works well on basically everyone, I would highly recommend this. The pigmentation is also very good. So I will be using this today, and I will also talk about some other shadows that would work as well. Tyler, I'm using it. Hi. How was your walk?
Good, we went to Sonic.
The thing I told you I wouldn't do. Jackie said, we should walk to Sonic. Across a literally cross over a major highway on a bridge. There's a sidewalk, but I don't trust it. So I'm gonna take a really fluffy blending brush. This is a Morphe X Jeffree Star JS5 brush. And I'm gonna take the shade Cappuccino, which was that middle shadow on the second row. So the very middle shade, I guess. And it's the closest match in the palette to my actual skin tone shade. So what I do is I take the big fluffy brush and I just blend that skin tone shade in to lay down a base level color that we can then blend other colors on top of. If you put down a base shadow, the other colors have something else to stick to. It's just a lot easier when it comes to blending out colors that are really pigmented. This is especially handy if you're doing a really colorful look. But I like doing this in my neutral looks as well, simply because it makes blending so much easier, and that doesn't make sense until you experience it. If you didn't have this down, the color would just be sticking to the actual sticky or kind of wet base of either a primer or a concealer, which it was what was on my eyelids. So the pigment would stick, but then it would be harder to blend. So if you put down a base color, then you have something to blend into that isn't wet. I'm gonna take that same brush and I'm gonna go into the next shade over that's just a little bit darker and just put that right in my outer crease and upper crease. Your crease is when you're looking and you open your eyes. The crease is the part where it folds. And for me, I have what are called hooded eyes. And so when I look down, you can see my whole eyelid. But when I look up, a lot of my lid space is covered. So I go above my crease and create a new crease. And it just makes my eyes look a little bit bigger and gives me more space to do stuff on my eyelids. One thing that I will say, I am using this palette, but you can use literally any brown eyeshadow you have. This look is all about being neutral and easy and glam and effortless, so you look done, but not too done. So I'm using Makeup Revolution, which is a drugstore brand, kind of. You can find it at Ulta, and it's very reasonably priced. Their palettes are pretty inexpensive. but you can't get it at like a CVS or a Walmart. Things that would be more accessible at like CVS, Walmart, Target, Walgreens, those type of things would be like Maybelline or e.l.f. or Wet n Wild or Revlon or L'Oreal. And a lot of those brands have incredible eyeshadows for really good prices. Like I'm talking less than $10, always less than $20 for a palette. And they work, but there's a disclaimer. So they work very well, they do the job, but they are usually a lot less pigmented, and therefore you have to pack a lot more on to get the color payoff that you want. They're also harder to blend usually. So if you are willing to put in that extra work, or if you're just looking for something subtle, like you want to play with color, or maybe even you want to do this look specifically, if you're looking to try it but you don't want to like fully commit, you can do it at gradual levels. I'm pretty confident in doing this look because I've done it on myself a million times, and I've done it on other people a million times as well. So I know what I'm doing when it comes to this, and I could pick up basically any shadow palette. The first time I ever did this look was using a like 100 color e.l.f. palette that my best friend Kayla got me, and we got it for each other for Christmas. So I gave one to her and she gave one to me. We should have just bought them for ourselves, but this way it was more festive. Anyway, I used the colors in that palette, and that's how I learned. And so I learned with colors that weren't as pigmented, and it honestly made it a little bit easier. So if you're just looking to get into makeup initially, I would recommend going with drugstore first so that you're not spending an arm and a leg and then getting overwhelmed. But if you already love makeup, if this is something you're looking to invest in, there are lots of brands that are a little bit more expensive that have incredible formulas. One that I love their matte eyeshadow, is Jeffree Star Cosmetics. And those are very pricey, but what I like about Jeffree is that he's got a palette that is more nude tones, like nudes and browns. He's got one that is like gray and black and white tones. His are very much color themed. So I know that if I want to do like a gray look or a monochromatic black and white look, I can reach for the cremated palette. Or if I want to do something pastel, I can reach for the Jawbreaker palette. And so a lot of brands do that as well. Another one that does color themed is ColourPop. They do a lot of themed palettes, and I like those a lot. They recently released a collection with Animal Crossing, which is our girl Bethany's like favorite game to play. She and Molly are constantly playing Animal Crossing, and I love it. And so stuff like that is really fun. It's also a collectible item, but they are a more cheap brand, and so their stuff is good, but once again, you kind of have to give the toss-up of pay more money and it be really easy to use, or pay a little bit less and it be functional but not super easy, if that makes sense. Now I'm gonna take a little bit skinnier of a brush. It's still really fluffy, but it's smaller, more dense. This is the Morphe x Jaclyn Hill collection in JH33. And I'm gonna go into the next darker shade, so the bottom row far left. So I'm taking that color and I'm putting it concentrated in my outer, like the outer third of my eye. So if I split my eye into sections like third, 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 I'm focusing it in the outer third and then in the very lowest part of my crease. So you'll see what I'm doing, but I'll try and explain a little bit as well. Another eyeshadow brand that I love, two more actually, are Morphe and Juvia's Place. Juvia's Place is incredible because it is so pigmented. I have not used a single shadow that is as pigmented as the Juvia's Place shadow, and they are so reasonably priced. They are now in Ulta. They recently, within the last year probably, started selling in Ulta, but you can also order online. They are a Black-owned brand. I love getting to support brands that maybe didn't have as easy of a stepping off point as some of these bigger brands like L'Oreal and Maybelline and Jeffree Star. Like, it means a lot for me to be able to support someone that I know is really living their dream, and I know that the people that started Juvia's Place went into this because they loved makeup and were very passionate about it, and so I love supporting them. Another brand that I really love that's fairly affordable but is also very good is Morphe. The vast majority of brushes that I use are from Morphe, and that's because they're really good brushes for pretty cheap. They're not like you can buy them at Walgreens cheap, but they are going to be brushes that you can wash over and over. They're very soft. Some of them are real hair, some of them are synthetic hair, and they have a huge range of options. And half the battle of doing eyeshadow is the brushes that you use. Like, I've already used 2 brushes. You could, in theory, do this look all with 1 brush, and if that's what you're working with at home, that's awesome. However, if you really want to take your makeup to the next level, I would definitely recommend investing in just a couple of eyeshadow brushes that vary to do different things. And the way that I've done that and the way that I've built my brush kit is through Morphe. I have several sets of brushes because when I do weddings, I obviously don't use the same brushes on everyone. I have a clean set of brushes for each face. So I've been able to build my kit through Morphe. And not only do they have incredible brushes, they also have really great eyeshadow palettes. They have so many. Like, if I had all of the Morphe palettes, it would fill up like a whole drawer of my dresser. It's insane. And they're fairly affordable. They've got different sized ones. They've got all kinds of different shades. Like, they've got brown palettes that are like, okay, these are neutral browns. These are warm toned browns. These are cool toned browns. And that's something that I even struggle to tell the difference of looking at them. Like, I'm like, oh, it's brown. But they have done a very good job of being like, okay, this would look good with like this, these colors would look good together, and these colors would look good together, and they're cohesive, and they can kind of go to whichever mood. The first video I ever did, that you now can no longer see, I used a Morphe palette, and I love, love, love Morphe. They have done tons of collabs with influencers, and so things like the James Charles palette, that's Morphe. Things like the Jaclyn Hill palette, both of those and the whole vault are Morphe. The palettes that I used in the Thanksgiving video that I did with my mom and my sister, I used on each of them one of the Morphe Jaclyn Hill Vault palettes, one of their little mini ones. And they're incredible. They're not high end. They're not like the Jeffree Star or even higher end, the Pat McGrath, the Natasha Denona, things that I don't even own because I can't afford them. And I know that those are great. And I know that if I had them, I would love them. However, if I have access to these more inexpensive things that I can work with and that help me and are just as usable on so many different people and on so many different faces, that's more usable for me. That's something that I value. So I will spend a little bit more than drugstore because I want it to be easier, but I definitely stay in the mid-range when it comes to pricing because I want it to be good, but I also don't want to spend my whole paycheck. I can't do that. As much as I would love to be able to spend exorbitant amounts of money on makeup, that is, 1, not wise, and 2, not something that I just can do at this point. I'm now gonna go in with a Morphe JS6 brush from the Jeffree Star collab and go in with, once again, the next shade over. That would be shade Iced. And it's the middle one on the bottom row if you happen to buy this palette. Once again, a deeper brown. And I'm gonna take that even more focused in the inner third and then in the lower part of my crease as well, just to continue deepening. Blending shadows can be very difficult when you don't know how to do it. So I am now going to do my very best to explain how to do this. I blend shadows by starting with the lightest color and then putting the dark on top of it so that the dark can blend into the light. I've learned that if I start with dark, which is an option, you can do whatever you want, makeup doesn't have rules, but I've learned that if I start with the dark and then blend lighter, I end up with just a big mess of dark. It's so dark and I can't fix it. So I go in with the lighter shades and then gradually get darker so that I can focus the dark exactly where I want it. So I take the shadow and I place it directly where I want it, and then I do either little windshield wiper motions or little circles to blend out that color. And so once again, I stamp on the color, especially with these darker colors or like really vibrant colors. You like stamp it on or swipe it on if it's in your crease, and then you can do little circle motions or little windshield wiper motions to blend it out. And I like to blend up so that it's a natural gradient, like it would be like in a sunset or in a painting. So I will note that I don't always go this dark on a look, especially on bridesmaids, depending on what the bride wants. If the look is far more pastel, if it's like a sage green or a light pink or a light blue look, basically anything pastel or, what word am I looking for?
Like bright?
Muted.
Oh.
Muted.
The opposite of bright.
If it's a more muted color, like an understated look, I definitely won't go this dark. I personally like to go darker on in my crease on my eyes. I feel like it makes them pop a little more. But it's all a very personal thing. So if you wanted, you could do this look without this last step that I did. So without the darker color, and it's just as pretty, it's just as effective, it gets the point across just as much. It just all depends on what you want to do. I did this look on Bethany for her birthday photo shoot. We'll insert some beautiful pictures here. And I didn't go as dark. I knew that she wanted there to be an impact, but also it to be more natural. I then just covered it in glitter.
Yeah.
So imagine this covered in glitter, and that's Bethany's birthday look. That is totally up to you. That's how makeup works. It's very personal. And so for bridal looks, I usually don't go this dark, but if you're wanting a little extra drama, or if someone specifically requests, I like this, but could you go a little deeper in the crease? I obviously will do that, and that's what I do on myself. So now I like to go in with a shimmer on the lid. So for some looks, some people might want to go just matte, and that's totally fine. If I'm doing a bridal look, a lot of times brides want it to be fully matte. For Emma's wedding, Emma wanted her eye look to be matte, very classic bride, and I was like, oh yes, totally 100% support that. So I just put like a skin tone shade or a little bit lighter all over her lid and like kind of cut the crease a little bit. So that would be filling the inner third and the center third with just that lighter color. But what I like to do is wear shimmers. You guys know that I love me some glitter, I love me some shine, I love me some rhinestones, and so when I'm doing just a basic look, I can't leave out some sort of shiny. I rarely wear just a matte look. So for this, you can either go in with a shimmer eyeshadow. If you're gonna do that, I recommend using either a Morphe or one of the higher up brands that I talked about. A lot of drugstore shimmers are just harder to make. They're kind of patchy, they're kind of chunky, and it's just difficult. The ones in this Revolution palette are pretty good, but because I am the way that I am, and because I want maximum shine like the top of the Chrysler building shine, I use a highlighter instead. So the highlighter that I used on my face is actually a Juvia's Place highlighter, and it's the Tribe Highlighter Volume 3. It's a really pretty champagne gold glitter. So I'm going to use this because that's the highlighter I used, and because I like a gold neutral look. It's very summery, also works well for fall. But another option would be a more pink toned highlighter. So this is where you can kind of customize to the skin tone of a person or to the overall look that they want to do. For Bethany, we used gold and then we put glitter over it, so it doesn't really count. But we used the golder one so that it would just be really like glowy and sunny and just warm. But on myself, I usually use a pink color because I just really like pink, and I have a lot of pink in my skin. So if I'm going for a more natural look, I wear a pinker highlighter. But today I'm gonna do the gold because I'm feeling festive, I'm feeling sunny. And I just got my hair done. Y'all, I got my hair done, and the lady that did it is phenomenal. I will insert her Instagram here. Her name is Katie, she's very nice. And she did me some balayage, so your girl's blonde again, if you didn't tell. I'm taking a Shani. This is another one of those, this is more of a random brush that I have. I don't know where in the world my mom got it, but she got me a brush set. And they're pretty good, but they have fallen apart, I will say. Most of my Shani brushes have, like, the handles are kind of loose. They work. They're great. If you're not going to be washing them a ton like I am when I use them on multiple people, then they're great brushes. But because of the purposes that I use them for, I need a little bit more sturdy. But for the purpose of this look, and this being the brush that I wanted to use, this flat, rounded shape, I will be using my Shani E13 creasing brush. And I just take my highlighter or your shimmer shadow or your matte shadow, whatever you want to do, and I brush it in there. Sometimes if I want more of an impact, I will spray the brush first and get it a little wet so that it's more of a highlighter paste. And I place it starting on the inner third and working my way towards the center. So you can see, maybe I can see in the mirror, oh, I already love it. It packs a pretty good punch even without wetting it. But if you just want a little bit more shine, then go on ahead and wet it. That crease that we formed, I take it a little bit into it so that when I'm just looking straight on at the camera, you can still kind of see it. I want that to be there even when I don't have my eyes closed, because you can't walk around like this all the time. That would be ideal for showing off makeup. However, that is not how the real world works. So I take that. An easy way to do it, I've showed you guys this when I cut my crease, is to put some on the center and look up and let it touch, and then build down from there. Another thing that I forgot to mention, a lot of times with more inexpensive eyeshadow brands, there's a lot of fallout. I didn't have much with this, but because I'm using a highlighter, I had a little bit of highlighter fallout. So if the color falls from your eyelid to under your eye, one thing you can do is you could place some dry powder underneath it to catch it and then brush it away. But most of the time I can just go like this and get it to move and get it to go away so that I can just have my base. Or you could do your eyes first and then put your base on second, but I like to do my base first. Different formulas have different amounts of fallout. You can sometimes avoid it by getting a luxury brand, but if you're using a really pigmented, bright color, a lot of times there's going to be fallout to begin with, and that's just kind of how it works. But I will say that more inexpensive brands tend to be a little bit more chalky and therefore have a little bit more fallout. So now that we have that color on, I go back and I take not my biggest fluffy brush, but the second one we used, and I blend that edge a little bit, and then I take my darkest one and I just barely tap and blend the edges of where that meets my outer third. If you think about it like a V, it's an outer V, but I filled it all the way in, so it's not really a V. I then take those shadow brushes. I usually take the medium shade I used, so I'll use this second brush and I run it along my lower lash line and I bring that all the way over, just slightly. I usually don't get more shadow. If it's just nothing's coming off, I'll get more shadow, but I like it to be as subtle as it can be so that there's color there, but so it's not like you're filling your lower lash area where you've already covered in concealer. Like, it defeats the purpose if you blend it up too terribly much, but I like to bring some color down there just so it's cohesive. And then I take that very darkest color and I keep it just in the outer, I'd say, half. And lastly, for arguably my favorite part, definitely Jackie's favorite part, the inner corner highlight. So since I already used a highlighter on my whole lid, getting something that's a little bit more shiny than that is hard. So instead of something more shiny, I'm going to go for something a little lighter. If you're using a matte color, if you're like matte colors, a shade lighter than what we put would be great, or white would be good. For me, I'm going to use this Jeffree Star Cosmetics Supreme Frost Shadow in Diamond Wet. It's pink, but it's very light and it's going to bring a very pretty tone. And I'm just going to use that same brush we used in our lid. And I put that right in our inner corner, connect it a little bit, but mainly focus it on this very inner part. So this is our eyeshadow look all complete, my go-to easy neutral glam. And so I'm gonna go off camera and I'm going to do a little bit of liner and some lashes and some lips, and then I will come back and show you the final look and give you my final thoughts. And this, my friends, is the final look. The eyelashes that I'm wearing today are the same lashes that I wore in the Valentine's Day video. I know that they're Ardell. They're either Ardell or Kiss, and there's 2 pairs stacked, but that's all I can remember. And my lips are the Juvia's Place Luxe Liner in Ruby and the Juvia's Place lipstick in So Red. These were a gift from Jackie. They came with this cute, the Sweet Pinks palette by Juvia's Place. It was my Galentine's gift. So this video is effectively sponsored by Jackie and Tyler, so thank you to them. I hope that you like it, and I hope that this video was informative and that you learned something. I know that the way that I learned how to do makeup was watching tutorials where people like Nikki Tutorials and Patrick Starr would go in detail and show me exactly what I needed to do. And then I practiced for myself, and here we are. That's all it took. And so you can do the same thing. If you want to learn how to do makeup, just do it. You have to take the first step. And if you want to recreate this look, that would be a good first try. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave those in the comments. I could do a little mini Instagram live at some point to talk about more questions that you guys have about eyeshadow, maybe about a specific brand or a specific technique. I would love to do that. I would love to interact more with you guys and do more small things like that. So if you have questions, leave them in the comments below. Before you go, if you guys would like this video and subscribe to my channel, that would be awesome. It would really help us grow and help me to continue to be able to do what I love. We are super excited for what the future of this channel looks like, but that only works if we get to grow. So give this video a like and send it to a friend. We'll be back with another video very soon, and we'll also be adding to this basics series as we go. But that's all the time that we have for today, so I will see all of you beautiful people in the next one. Did I do it?